Hi guys, I'm here again. My name is Jason White and this is Weird Reads, and I've been seeing this tag going around a lot amongst author tubers, and although I sort of jumped on the author tube thing when I started my booktube channel, I haven't really done anything with author tube. So I've only done one video, and it was like your intro video, your newbies tag to AuthorTube. So I thought, why not do this one, because I really like the idea of it. And it's story idea writing tag. Alright, so the first question is current story. What is your current story idea that you're working on right now? Alright, I don't really like talking about my books while I'm writing them, but I am writing a book right now, and I'm about 40,000 words in. And I'm right in the middle part, and I can see the ending. It's coming. I struggled through the middle a little bit, as I always do. It's kind of a gray area, the middle, where your protagonist is trying to solve the inciting incident that boosted the story into where it is now, and where it's got to go to end. And they have to keep failing, right? And so this has been a lot of fun too, writing this middle part. And I know I'm being vague because I'm not telling you what the story is about, but I just don't like talking about the story as I progress. It's more of like a selfish thing. I like keeping it to me until I'm ready to share it, and then it, because then it's not so fresh anymore anyway, and this story is starting to lose its freshness, let me tell you. But it's still, even having said that, it's still a lot of fun to write. This will be my second full-length novel if I decide to publish it, and honestly I am thinking about not publishing it because well, it's not necessarily controversial. When the idea first hit me, I thought it was, and yeah, it is, but I'm afraid that it's going to be too transparent. The controversial elements will be too transparent, and that might hinder the book. I don't know. We'll see. Question number 2: spark of inspiration. Do your ideas begin with characters, plot, world building, or something else entirely? My story ideas come in many different forms, actually. Sometimes it's the character jabbering away in my ear, telling me stories, and sometimes it's sort of like a visual of a scene. And oftentimes a story has to percolate in my brain for a very long time. I'm talking years. The novel I'm working on right now, actually, I came up with way back in 2010, 2011, and a new way of writing it smacked me on the head one night at work. And I was like, whoa, I gotta write this now. And so I started writing it. One thing I find actually is reading. A lot of people are sort of about writing manuals, fiction writing manuals, but I find that if I have a story nagging me while I'm reading one of those fiction writing manuals, then that's the story I've got to write right then. And that's what I was doing with this book, because I was reading a bunch of writing manuals, and this story was nagging me through the whole thing, so I started to outline it and write it. Question number 3: brainstorm. How do you puzzle piece your story elements together? Do you start with the ending and make your way to the beginning, or vice versa? My stories, just like the ideas, can come or start anywhere. I typically start, when I start writing, I start from the beginning and I go work my way to the end. But I used to like to know the beginning and the end, and now I want to know the middle, because the middle is where my manuscript is at most risk of becoming dead. if I run into a serious issue, then I typically abandon the project. So I've decided to start outlining, and once I have, what I like to do is I like to dump all my ideas onto, into my notebook, basically all the little scenes, and from there it just grows. And what I did with this recent novel is I started to outline it by using the 15 beats, and I really enjoyed using the 15 beats because it's a little more detailed. And one thing that I found for those who are really stuck on writing by the seat of your pants, I found that I'm still discovery writing, even though I have an outline. The whole middle changed everything. Certain things happened earlier, other things happened later, but it's still all leading to the same conclusion. And so it's been a really interesting ride. Question 4, keep or toss. How do you know when you want to keep or dump a story idea? Basically when it becomes too problematic and I can't figure it out. And I don't think I ever totally abandoned any novel idea. There's some novels that I was writing back in like 2004 that I'm still trying to work out up here, and I'm just not ready yet to write that novel. And I've abandoned it, sure, but I still plan on going back. In fact, I have all these ideas of these more recent stories that I've abandoned but I'm going to be coming back to because I want to outline them now and see how that works out. So I don't necessarily abandon any idea, completely. I just know that it needs to percolate more up here. It needs to form itself out more, and then I'll get to it. Question number 5, original idea. How much of your original idea for your story is actually used once everything is finished? Honestly, the very original, the very seed of the story, very little of that is ever actually in the story. I actually had a discussion with this. I forget with who. I think it was Laird Barron, yeah. I asked him in one of the interviews if that I did with him, either on Darkness Dwells or the Great Lakes Horror Company. I asked him when he first comes up with a story if it looks anything like the finished product, and he was like, no, never. And that's very true. Every time I come up with a story idea, the thing that gets me excited about it never looks that way when it's done. It's very strange. I think there's a difference between the fantasy of the story you want to write compared to the actual reality of it when it's done. And that's what I like about. That's one thing I like about writing, and yet at the same time, it's disappointing because that idea, when you first conceive of it, it's like the most amazing thing in the world, right? and then you write it and you work your ass writing it, and then at the end you're just like, well, this looks nothing like, that original idea. But that's okay. Question number 6, I already kind of answered. Hide or share. Do you share your book ideas with friends or keep them a secret? It's not, my friends, like my co-host for Darkness Dwells podcast, Michael Schutz, he's always trying to ask me, what's your book about? And I'm like, I don't like talking about it, man. And he's like, yeah, I gotta try though, right? It's not that I'm being secretive. It's just like the way I said it before. I'm sort of hoarding it right now, and until I feel it's time to release it. It may sound pretentious, and maybe it is, but I used to talk about my ideas, and then I just lose interest in them. And I think a part of it is superstition as well. I'm just afraid that I'm going to lose the excitement if I start talking about it. Who knows? Maybe it would work out the other way. Maybe I'd get excited if I talked about it. More excited. Who knows? But as of right now, I guess I keep it secret. Dream is question number 7. Have any of your book ideas originated with a dream/nightmare? Not really. There's one book, I did have this one dream about 6 months ago that involved a hotel, and that's all I'm going to say about it in case I decide to write it out. But this dream lasted all night, and I know it lasted all night because I had to get up to go to the washroom a couple of times, and every time I went back to sleep I would be sucked back into that dream. I don't know how or why that happens to me sometimes, though. I get these long, epic dreams. Anyways, I've been thinking about making that into a novella, and so if that happens, then yes, at least once. Most of the time, though, my dreams are actually quite boring. I dream often that I'm at work. You know, it's like, it's not enough that I actually have to go to that fucking place, but when I get home and I'm away, I have to dream about it too. So yeah, most of my dreams are kind of boring, but every once in a while I'll have these sweeping, epic dreams that are just too awesome to ignore. Question number 8, Doppelganger. Have you ever had an idea for a story, but then seen a similar premise in a book / TV show / movie? And yes, this used to happen to me all the time. The biggest example I had was I was writing this zombie short story, and the big catch at the end was he was basically killing zombies in order to feed his family that he had chained up in the basement. They were zombies too. They were dead and they had become zombies, and he was hunting and killing zombies during the day in order to feed them. And you know, that whole twist at the end sort of reminded me of the twist that they did in the remake of Dawn of the Dead. And I'm not going to say what that twist is exactly. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but there are similarities and between the stories. And when I saw that, I was like, that was my idea. No. Obviously, nobody stole it. It's just, you know, I do have a belief. I don't know, like, I'm not a religious person by any means, but I think that we are connected in a way, and I think ideas are connected too. I think sometimes it's hard to explain exactly, but I think our conscious minds sort of dip into that pool and pull out ideas. I don't know if that makes any sense, but sometimes you are pulling from the same thing that's either going to be popular or is just, you know, the norm before it becomes the norm, if that makes any sense. And, you know, if it wasn't for that, this question wouldn't exist. So yeah, good question there. Question number 9. Big screen inspiration. Have any of your favorite movies / TV shows sparked ideas for scenes in your book? Honestly, I don't think so. If they have, it was sort of unconscious. I don't really notice anything like that until after I've written the thing and I'm reading through it and I'm like, oh, this looks like, you know, like it was inspired by that, and I do that all the time, but yeah, not consciously. And question number 10, final question. Nostalgia. What's the oldest first story idea you remember coming up with / writing down? When I was a kid, I used to write these comics called Mad Max, and it had nothing to do with the movie because I didn't know the movie existed then. The Mad Max movies with Mel Gibson. But I used to, I don't know, it was a weird story. I wish some of them had, actually I'm pretty sure some of them still exist. I don't know where they are though. There's like boxes and boxes of shit in the attic and whatnot. But Mad Max was this guy with big googly eyes, sort of Simpson style, but they were always bloodshot, and he's always carrying a knife with blood dripping from it. And I don't remember if there were any plots or anything, or if I just drew these for fun. I was like 6, 7. I don't know. It's a good thing teachers, I guess, never seen it, because they probably would have had me in counseling or something. Alright, so I am going to tag one person in this because I don't think she's done it, and I would really like to see her answers if she hasn't. And so Regina St. Clair, I tag you. Alright, thanks everyone for watching. Keep being creative, and we will see you next time.